Hello and welcome back to the Movies Made Us Do It. Me and Matt are back. How are you, Matt?
I am pretty good, sir. How are you?
I am doing okay, yeah. Doing okay. Watched some good stuff over Christmas and New Year and all that jazz. Because, Paula, for those of you who listen to Casey's or Kelly's, she had like a positive flag on the app for COVID, so we were waiting for her results. So there was a little bit of time right up till Christmas where I didn't see her. So again, more time to just watch stuff and whatever. And then there was just some series just had to watch. Just had to watch some series. But we'll get to those because I'm really glad that you've also watched the same shows because that always makes it a bit interesting.
Always good.
We haven't clashed at all on movies though, so you can kick us off. What have you been watching, Matt?
Yeah. So shall I start with the I'll start with the Night House.
The Night House, yes. I love the poster. I don't really know anything about it other than that though.
Yeah. So this is directed by David Bruckner, who'd previously done The Ritual, which I still haven't seen. But
I love The Ritual. I think The Ritual's a really good horror movie.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those things that I've just not got round to, and I know everybody says it's great, and I've just not round to it. Southbound, I've seen, that's good, and he directed a segment in VHS.
Oh, I quite like the first VHS. There's some bits I like,
I think he did the first story in it.
Okay.
And I think he's gonna be directing the next Hellraiser. So.
Okay.
I think there's two Hellraiser projects, so I'm not quite sure which one he's specifically
doing. Are they doing
a
Chucky? Are they doing a Child's Play where like one's going to still be in the original universe and then the other one will be a new thing?
I think they might be.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I actually got the Chucky series ready to go. Actually, I haven't watched it yet.
Apparently, it's all right. I've not seen it, but
no, I'm getting round to that one. It's Rebecca Hall, Sarah Goldberg, and Vondi Curtis Hall. So we are introduced to Beth, who is grieving because her husband has just committed suicide, and she's living in this house that he built for her, and she basically discovers that there was something weird going on with him. She doesn't know quite what happened. She doesn't know why he committed suicide. She always thought he was, stable, and he never made any. She says, I'm the flighty one. I was the, I'm the one with issues. He was never, he never had issues. I don't know why he committed suicide, and he left this note that basically, well, I won't go into the note, but he left this note that didn't really say an awful lot.
Sure.
There was no explanation as to why he did what he did.
Mm-hmm.
And through a series of sort of like dreams and things, she discovers that there is he made another house on the other side of the lake that they live, in reverse, and she discovers that he was trying. It seems like he was trying to trap something, or he was trying to keep something away from her.
Okay,
and she keeps sort of having these sort of. They're almost like she's sort of like she's sleepwalking, but she might not be, and she sees sort of like blooded footprints like going across the the floor and things.
Okay,
and there are these brilliant bits where they use negative space to basically show someone.
Yeah, so they've got that even in the poster, and it looks really cool.
Yeah. So there's someone there, but there isn't anybody there, and it's like the vase, the vase thing of the two faces on the vase, that picture.
Yes. Yeah.
The negative space and stuff. There's a lot of that going on, and it's really, really well done. It's beautifully done. And Rebecca Hall, she's usually fantastic, and she's fantastic in this. It's all her movie, really. It's she's a teacher, and she's got this friend that that she tells things to, and Vondi Curtis Hall plays Mel, who he sort of lives in the area where they are, and she sort of discovers things about her husband that is slightly disturbed. Not slightly disturbing. It's very fucking disturbing. She discovers this picture of on his phone of what looks like her in a library or in in a bookshop, and it's
Right.
she looks at this, and it's like, that's not me.
Hmm.
It just looks like her. So she looks at all these pictures, and she finds that there are all these women on his phone that look like her,
Okay.
or just enough to look like her.
Right.
And then she she goes and looks for all this stuff, and her friend's like going, "Look, I don't think you want to look into this shit. You should really like leave this alone, because I think this is
this is a
going to
bad
go nowhere
idea.
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to go nowhere that's good." And I'm not going to spoil it, but I think it was kind of it's another one of those ones where they kind of sold it as a full-on horror, and it's not. It's a psychological horror. Yes, there are jump scares, but they're very well done jump scares that aren't sort of and just there for the jump scare. They're well done, sort of and it's not about that. It's to do with this sort of like weird thing, and that you find out that something happened to her when she was a. Well, I was not. It's not spoiling anything really to say, but when she was younger, she died. She was in an accident, and she died for a few minutes and was brought back. And that's the basis for what's going on. So all I will say is, come the end, you can take this movie more than one way.
Sure.
It could be taken. Well, I think there's a few ways that you can take this thing. It could be that the explanation to what's going on is exactly what you're told.
Sure.
Or it could be maybe all in her head and it's just about grief. Or it could be something more sinister going on with her husband that you're not quite sure about.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a number of ways you can take it. My wife just straight up went for the try not to give anything away. Let's just say
the
my wife
surface ending or the grief ending.
Yeah, my wife went for the straight up ending.
Mm-hmm.
that I wasn't 100% convinced that was the right ending, but
I guess the ending is whatever you read into it.
I think that's it. I'm not convinced either the other ways either. So yeah. I'm I haven't quite made up my mind. I think I've mostly made up my mind, but there's enough that makes you think, well, it could just be that, It's really well done. It's great acted. Rebecca Hall is really good. She completely carries it. It's a real slow burn, so it's don't go in expecting full on horror stuff. It's more about the build up and the intensity of what's going on, and keeping with Rebecca Hall's character, because you want to find out what's going on. You want to see, because her character is really compelling. It's beautifully shot. The negative space stuff is really well done, and really sort of, a couple of times you sort of look at things and think, is that something? And then it moves, or you move around and it's not what you think it is. It's really beautifully done, really nice. Great setting. Yeah, really nice movie, and I thought the director really handled it brilliantly well. It like I said, it keeps you guessing to a certain point, and it also keeps you with her. So yeah, really good. I'm actually quite looking forward to seeing what he does with Hellraiser, because it does sort of at times have a not exactly Hellraiser feel, but it's got that sort of the feel of what the hell's going on with this woman, that like with Kirsty, when Kirsty's when Kirsty's sort of, what the fuck is going on, what what's happening, it's got that sort of feel. So I think depending on what he's working, what story he's working with, it would be interesting to see what he does. I think he would certainly do a good job of directing it. But yeah, I really like this. It didn't quite make. I watched it just before we did our top fives, but I didn't think it quite made the top five. But I think it's a really nicely put together horror movie. Oh well, horror thriller. Let's put it that way. It's really nicely put together.
I'm curious.
I would definitely recommend it.
I'll certainly give it a go. I mean, I've seen The Ritual, and I think he's a fantastic visual director. And
yeah, certainly.
So I'm intrigued. I am intrigued. Well, I watched a pretty good Netflix movie, which, you know, it's not always the case. Let's put it that way. But yeah, I watched Don't Look Up during the Christmas break.
I wasn't sure about this one.
Neither was I. And to be honest, I put it on because I just had, like, you know, a couple of hours. I think we were popping out somewhere doing something. I had a couple of hours. I was like, oh, do you know what? I'll just chuck it on. And I really enjoyed this movie. I genuinely did. I thought it was a really funny, well-directed movie, directed by Adam McKay, and starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Rob Morgan, Jonah Hill, who I normally can't stand, but he's well cast here.
Yeah, I'm not a Jonah Hill fan either.
Well, it's like, you know, he's well cast in this movie in the role he's meant to be in. But effectively...
He's back.
Yes. He's the chief of staff at the White House, right. But he's also the president's son, which is kind of presumably how he got the job. So he's like just a jackass, basically. Okay. Well, but effectively, the story revolves around Kate and Randall. Kate is a Michigan State University PhD candidate in astronomy, and Dr. Randall, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, is obviously, you know, he's the professor. And
Kate's Jennifer Lawrence, yes.
Kate is Jennifer Lawrence, yes, and she discovers a comet, which is just outside of you know, Jupiter, and they're like, oh, you know, let's name it after you. So it's called the her last name. I can't think of her last name, but it's named after her.
Baisky?
Yes, that's right. But then Randall does the calculations, and he discovers that this comet is going to hit Earth, and it's huge. It's basically an extinction event that's going to occur. They inform NASA, like, internally. There's, like, you know, memos and stuff, and it goes to the White House, where the president, played by Meryl Streep, who's fantastic in this movie as well, basically is waiting to she's coming up for re-election, so she doesn't want to deal with it right now. She's like, can we just, like, not talk about this until after the elections? And they're like, well, this is, like, in 6 months, this is going to wipe out all life on Earth. And they've got, like, the publicists there and stuff, and they're like, well, we don't like the sound of that doesn't sound good, you know, you can't go around saying things like that, you know, and, you know, oh, you're blowing this out of proportion, aren't you? And, you know, they kind of downplay it because obviously it's not convenient for them to deal with right now. And then they go, you know, they're kind of like furious, or at least Kate, certainly. Dr. Randall is kind of he just kind of loses the will to live pretty early on, but Kate is, like, fuming about this, and they end up going on a morning talk show, and they're basically treated like it's like it's clear that this morning talk show is a light talk show. They just want to talk about, like, sensationalization and nonsense like that, and they've got, like, you know, we want to talk to pop stars and things like that, but obviously they're on the show, and they just start asking really stupid, frivolous questions, and, you know, just like, oh, so you found a meteor, a comet, that's really cool, like, how big is it, you know, and all this, and then they start asking, like, really silly questions. Kate ends up losing it on air, and she's like, there is a 100% chance that everyone's going to die, because they just won't take it seriously. She ends up, then the memes start online that Kate's this crazy woman, and they're kind of ostracized and kind of made out to be, you know, kooks, basically, until it becomes clear, and it's kind of confirmed by the director of NASA, that they're like, actually, this is actually going to happen. And then suddenly they love Dr. Randall, and he's, like, the number one. And I don't want to go into too many spoilers beyond that, because there's some really funny twists and turns in this movie. It's got the commentary on both the government and the media and news media is fantastic in this film. There's some really funny stuff with conspiracy theorists as well, where they're all kind of with them to begin with, and then once it's clearly actually happening, they start denying that it's happening. They're like, no, it's not actually happening. And at one point, it's even like it's literally in the sky, and they're like literally just look up. You can see it now. You can literally see this bloody thing. And there's like a CEO, this like sort of, I guess he's Zuckerberg kind of character.
Right.
He's played by Mark Rylance. And he basically, they're all like, we're gonna go destroy it, and they're gonna send Ron Perlman, who's this ex top military guy who's willing to die for his country, do the Armageddon thing basically. But the CEO discovers that actually this world-ending comet is actually full of rare elements, and it's worth trillions of dollars. So they basically sabotage their own rescue, so that they can basically bring the comet down in fragments, even though everyone, Randall and Kate and all of that are like, you've not peer reviewed any of this. Like, we don't know that that's going to work. Like the original plan, we'd all agreed was going to work. This may not even work, but they're just only interested in money from that point on. But yeah, it's a really funny, well-directed movie. I thought the commentary was spot on throughout the movie, both on news media and the government. Really, really fun and really well acted. The cast is fantastic. Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Rob Morgan, Ron Perlman, Meryl Streep, Kate Blanchett. It's a really, really good, strong cast, and really fun movie. Really funny. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Don't Look Up.
I honestly, I saw the trailer and thought, oh my god, no, I don't think so.
Well, I was kind of the same, and then I don't know why. Sometimes you've just got like a couple of hours. You're like, I don't even know why I put it on, but I just felt like, okay.
Yeah.
Why not?
Well,
sometimes I'm like, yeah, and sometimes I'm like, well, I need something to review anyway, so I'll put it on. But I really enjoyed it. I had a really good time. So, what else have you watched?
So, should we do one of the series?
Sure. Which series would you like to do?
Witcher first.
Sure. So,
let's do Witcher.
Witcher 2 season 2 has landed just before Christmas, right?
Yeah.
Yes, continuing the
before New Year's. I think it was after Christmas, just before New Year's. I think.
Oh, you may be right, actually. Yeah.
I think just after Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
It's irrelevant anyway. It's out now.
Yes. So yes, continuing the story of Geralt and Yennefer and Ciri. What did you make of season 1? It's been a while since we talked about it. Yeah, I did as well.
I think it was really enjoyable. I thought Cavill as Geralt was brilliant. At first, I wasn't overly keen on Anya Charlotte as Yennefer, but she really grew on me, and by the end of the series, I really liked her a lot.
I felt much the same way.
I think Ciri, I thought was fine, but she seemed to be. I think it was to do with maybe the actress hadn't quite found her footing with the character yet, or maybe it just they hadn't given her enough to do. Maybe I'm not quite sure which, but I thought she was fine. She was okay. The way it was set out, I think initially was a little confusing, but once you realised, oh, okay, I'm right, okay, I see what you're doing. It was fine. It was like, okay, you're doing it all out of order, and you haven't you haven't told us what order you're doing it in. Fine, all right, okay.
Yeah, it was fine.
It just means that you had to think about it a little bit more than you probably needed to.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, you had to put up with it until about episode 7 before things started coming together, and you're like, okay, like clearly I can see clearly where things are now. So I think very frustrating for a lot of people that weren't willing to go with that. I was willing to go with it. I don't think it helped the series, if I'm honest, telling it out of order.
No.
And the fact that it was kind of told out of order without any subtitle explaining that it was out of order. I think they lost. I couldn't even tell you how many people they probably lost with that first series because of that. It didn't personally bother me that much, though, to be honest.
No.
And I followed it pretty well, you know. So yeah, it didn't bother me. I pretty much agree with you with season 1. I thought, you know, Henry Cavill, fantastic casting. He's great in the role. He clearly loves the role. I mean, he loved the games. Now is also a massive fan of the books too. So he's a huge Witcher fan, and he's fantastic in the role. And
most of the support cast were great as well. You know, Mayan Burring and stuff was great. Some of the choices were a little weird, but fine. You know, it was nothing. Nothing that would, you know, unbalance the show or anything. I don't think. It was all pretty good.
The dragon looked fucking awful. I remember.
Oh yeah,
that's forever burnt into my mind.
Terrible. That really was appalling.
I don't know if they just ran out of budget at that point, because the other monsters in it looked great. There was that CG monster in the opening, looked amazing, and then it just
the sort of that insect looking thing.
Yeah.
It really did feel like they sort of like, oh fuck, we've got to do a dragon. Shit, what are we doing? How much money do we have? We've got 10p.
Yeah.
Let's fucking cobble something together. Yeah, the dragon was fucking awful.
But the story came together in the end. And,
the actual episode wasn't a bad episode. It was just that dragon was appalling.
Yeah. But yeah, the narrative come together at the end, and then it certainly looked like we were in for a much more linear season 2, and that's exactly what we got. Weirdly, a series that even pokes fun at the fact that it took things in the way it did in season 1, which was an interesting thing to do. But I
mean, that did feel like it was it felt more like a jab at the audience.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a jab at the audience. Yeah. But yeah, so what did you make of season 2 overall?
So I loved the first 2 episodes. I mean, one of them was from was kind of would have fit in, because I think that the first season was mostly the first book, that all the different stories and that. And one of the first episode with the Beauty and the Beast guy,
loved him.
That's from that book.
Okay, I've not read any of the books, by the way, so full disclosure.
I've only read the first short stories one, so I haven't read all of the books, but I've played all the games.
Oh, I've played the games, yeah.
So I have that, but I know enough people that have read the books that have told me sort of, you know, certain things about the series and the you know, how it goes. So I've got a pretty good idea of where the story goes along. This was really rambling. There was a lot of, now we go in here, now we're going there, now we're going to go back there, now we're going to go over here, now we're going to go here, and it's like, what? Hang on a minute. I know the map of.
This is the problem, isn't it?
Really well.
It felt
and
like,
even if you're teleporting, which
I know,
some of the characters do, it's like, oh, we're just going to pop up to Kaer and then we're going to pop down to. It's like, no, those fucking places are miles away from each other.
It has.
Like, how much fucking time has passed from?
Well, that's exactly the same problem that Game of Thrones had towards the end, where like people would just traverse ridiculous distances in no time at all. It's like they caught a train. I don't know. Did you fly over? Like, and you're right here. It's the same here. They just go from place to place to place with, you know, I mean, that was one of the things I liked about Game of Thrones early on, is that you'd have stories just about the journey to a place.
Taking their time getting everywhere, yeah.
Well, exactly. And it was dangerous. Even traveling is dangerous, you know. But yeah, you're right. They do globetrot like nobody's business in this series.
Yeah, and I think Cavill was great.
Fantastic.
He was really underused. But I think the problem is I know a lot of people have taken against this season because of the highlight on Yennefer. Now, from what I've been told, the books are like that. The books, you know, most of the books are almost all Yennefer in some places and no Geralt.
I have
The-
absolutely no problem with a focus on Yennefer. I have no problem with
I
that at all. What I
However,
thought was the story
find
for her was dull and
her-
boring
yeah,
and
she was
obvious.
and
Like
I-
episode one,
felt
she's
like
lost her powers, right? And
Yeah.
I know she's getting them back, so now I just have to wait the whole fucking season for her to get her powers back. There's no question that she'll get them back, and nothing particularly interesting happens to her character during that time.
That doesn't happen in the book. She does not lose
Oh,
her
really?
powers.
Okay.
That was a thing they added for the series, and it's a pointless thing they added for the series. I think that, like, who the hell was convinced? I don't think there was anybody who watched this series that was convinced that she'd lost her powers.
Yeah, like that's it forever. She'll never have her powers back. Yeah, I don't think so.
She's just going to be a normal human for the rest of the series now. He's like, no, of course she fucking isn't.
But the thing is, as well, they took her powers and she didn't learn anything.
No, they actually.
There was no character development for that.
They made her worse.
Yeah.
She from her arc from the end of the first season, where she was being selfish, she was doing that, and then she pretty much sacrificed herself.
Yes, it was a selfless act. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great arc, and then she just turned. This season, she's just selfish again, and
they did the Jessica Jones thing.
Yeah.
Season 1, great arc. Season 2, we can't think of anything, so let's just reset her back to the way she was at the start of season 1. Like, no, like she's gone through this. Like, you're right. She made the end of the Witcher season 1. She was prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah,
her selfishness was gone.
For the actress, because she clearly didn't have enough to do.
No.
She didn't. They didn't. I don't think that the writers gave her anything to work with. So consequently, she was terrible.
Yeah.
I will say Ciri, so much better in season
She's
2.
fantastic. Yeah, I agree. She's way better.
I think she's found her feet. They gave her character.
She's a little older now as well.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I think she's probably benefited from having a little more time, to practice her craft.
Yeah.
And I think she did a really good job with what they did. And there is some really good stuff here when she's at Kaer Morhen and she's doing the training and stuff.
I loved all that.
There's some really nice stuff with that. And then they started moving her around again, and it's like, oh, this is boring. Why are they just send her back there? I'd rather watch more training montages than them traversing this fucking place.
Well, yeah, and that was quite compelling as well. Like, I was willing her to succeed. I wanted to see her succeed, and I liked that by the end the other people there were willing her to succeed as well. At first she was kind of a joke, and by the end they were like, please, we want you to do it. We want you to succeed.
I think they did a really weird thing with the other witches as well. The witches that are left. I think they killed off the wrong witcher. They quite early. I can't remember what their bloody names are now.
I can't remember.
The one that turned into a tree.
Yeah.
I'm sure he doesn't die, or he doesn't die till later.
Right. Okay.
And I like the guy who was playing Vesemir. I thought he did a pretty good job. Again, I don't think they gave him enough to do.
No.
The guy who's playing it, he's in like what is it? It's Killing Eve.
Yeah.
He's really good in Killing Eve. But yeah, they seem to sort of. It felt like they had a really good idea, and then they sort of petered it out a bit. It was like, we don't quite know where we're going now, and there was just so many sort of bits where you're like, oh Christ, the whole stuff with the wizards like them walking around and talking and just saying how much they miss Yennefer and isn't it a shame that she's dead and all, like, wasn't she great? And it's like, why are we watching this? What the fuck has this got to do with anything?
Yeah, you're
just telling us stupid shit that we know. We know she's great. Fine, can we stop talking about how great she is now?
Yeah, I think, like I said, the thing that frustrated me the most with Yennefer's story is that they reset her back to her almost selfish ways. And B, she just didn't grow as a character. Like, if you take away someone's powers, fine. I mean, like Spider-Man 2, I think, is a great example of, like, they took away the powers, he went through an arc and they got his powers back, fine. And if that was what they were going to do, cool. But there was nothing new here. It was almost a repeat of season 1, where she decides she's going to be less selfish by the end. Fine, but she's already made the ultimate sacrifice in season 1. So in here, it's just like, it was. I guess they could have done more like of a commentary on loss, but they didn't really lean into that heavily enough for me.
What they're doing with her, I think that's why it felt like. It felt like they didn't know what they were to do with her. So, like you said, the best to do is reset how she was, so that we can do that. But then they didn't even handle that well.
Not particularly, no. I don't think the season was terrible. I did enjoy it, but it did lose its way a little.
The worst thing this season does is it's mostly boring.
Yeah, there is a
lot of just drudgery in this series. As soon as Cavill's on the screen, it's great. They do these great things. The scene where Roach dies, wow, what a scene that was. That was all Cavill.
Yeah, I know, because apparently originally he was meant to joke. It was going to be a joke that Roach died. They wanted to do the
Marvel thing and have a joke.
Hideous. I'm so glad that
Cavill's... Let's quit here.
Exactly. I'm so glad that Cavill changed that, because that's fantastic. Apparently it's a quote from one of the later books, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's a brilliant scene. That's like the best scene of the whole show, in my opinion. And the thought that they were originally going to make it into a joke is just criminal.
Oh, I thought the monsters were pretty good as well.
Oh, I love some of the designs. Look great. Yeah.
Well done. Really nice designs.
Yeah,
they did a lot better with the creatures this time. And that weird sort of hybrid insect person thing.
That was awesome. Yeah,
that was really gross, and I like that. That was a nice weird design. I like that. That actually looked like they thought about doing something gross. It was a really cool thing.
Yeah. And of course we have the introduction, or we see more of the Wild Hunt at the end of this show, so obviously they're leaning heavily towards that.
That's from the games. I don't think that's even in the books, I don't think.
The thing is, with The Witcher 3 is so popular, it was only a matter of time before they were like, we're basically going to do The Witcher 3. That's what we're aiming for, and we just need to get there as fast as possible.
Yeah. Which is
it's fine. It's fine.
But it's silly because The Witcher 3 is so far away.
Oh yeah,
He's a proper old guy by the time you get to the the Wild Hunt.
He's old, scarred, and knackered by then. But
so it's weird to sort of have that already in season 2.
Well, I guess if they're going for like a 5-6 season show, maybe they're just building up to it. I feel like I have a horrible feeling that season 3 is going to be the Wild Hunt straight away. That's my gut feeling from the end, and if it's just a tease and they're just building towards it into a later season, that's great. But I have a horrible feeling the Wild Hunt will be in season 3.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff added to this season. There was a lot of sort of changes that they did. I think some of the stuff with the elves was slightly changed, and
I loved them. Sorry, I loved the dwarves. Sorry, the elves.
Oh, the dwarves are great.
They were fantastic in this.
The elves were fucking annoying.
Yeah, I think they're intentionally annoying, though. I think they're meant to be.
Yeah, but they could have handled them better. I think. They could have made them more compelling. I don't know whether it's the actors or whether it was the writing, but they definitely needed to make them more compelling. The stuff with Frangilla was the whole thing with what is his name? The bad guy from the first season. Care is it?
Something like that. I forget.
Care. Now in the first season, he's the big bad, isn't he? He's they make him up. He's to be this sort of big thing. This season, it felt like they didn't really know what to do with him. They had a lot of sort of him and Yennefer traipsing around, and then are we doing spoilers?
That is up to you. I'll leave that to you.
Not so much spoilers, but let's just say
minor spoilers.
Come the end, what happens? It's like, that all felt pointless.
Yes, there is quite a bit of that in this season, of just starting something and being like, well, no, that didn't really go anywhere, did it?
There's a lot of fizzling out.
It's almost like guys, it would be fine to have a season where certain characters just don't turn up and have them show up in the next season if you've got a story for them, you know?
Yeah.
It felt like they forced people in because they felt like they had to, even when they didn't really have anything for them to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you know, when the proper bad guy, as it were, turns up, and it's like, oh, so you're just going to do that, are you? Oh, okay, fine. Well, that's made that whole arc pointless then.
Yeah,
Never
pretty
mind.
much. Yeah.
Never mind. I mean, they could have done so much with that, and with and with that character, with those two characters, and they just pissed them away. It's like, oh, fine, that's good then.
But again, I didn't hate this season. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as the first season.
It's more frustrating than anything else.
Yes,
because there were nice little gleams of good in it that
for sure
that could have been worked upon, and they could have done better with the overall arching storyline could have been put together better. Mm-hmm. They could have. The stuff with the deathless mother, they could have done some really nice stuff with that, but it felt like they didn't quite know how to handle it. They didn't, they set up this deathless mother making a sort of like a deal with three people, and it was sort of before you knew it, it was over and the thing was free, and it was like, okay, right, and then it was try not to spoil too much. It just felt like they sort of had an idea, but they couldn't figure out how to make it work properly.
Yeah, it's odd. It's odd when you have such a famed book series and such famed games to fall back on. That you just came up with this. It's fine though. I had fun overall. I did very much enjoy.
Good enough.
And yeah, I enjoyed enough of it. I'll certainly watch season 3.
Yes, that's it. It's not put me off.
It just fell a bit flat.
I'm hoping they put it together better next season, because another season of just dullness will make me want to drop it.
On a side issue, fucking calm the fuck down, Netflix. Like, the week that The Witcher came out, I swear to God, there were like 6 shows on Netflix. There was like The Witcher Season 1, The Witcher Season 2, The Witcher Nightmare of the Wolf, The Making of The Witcher 1, The Making of The Witcher 2, and we're just going to talk about the monsters of The Witcher 2, and then we've got another show where we're going to talk about the heroes of The Witcher. It's like, well, Jesus, like, calm down. Like, it's just a show.
Other series coming as well. Is it
Blood Origin? Yeah.
Blood Origin, yeah. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, fine. But, yeah. We'll see.
I mean, like I said, Cavill was great, Ciri was great. I think Yennefer was done dirty this season. I think
a little, yeah.
I think I don't blame the actress at all. I think she was just not given anything to fucking do.
Yeah,
she was. For me, the breakout of that first season, I don't think I'd seen her in anything before then, or if I had, it was only a minor part. And I thought she handled that character really well. And I was totally with her at the end. This season, she just felt that she was there.
Yeah,
which was a real shame. The Dandelion, or whatever they fucking call him in this one,
he was insufferable in this.
He was terrible this season.
He was talking like a modern day person.
Supposed to be
his language was like it was like he lived in 2021. It was bizarre.
He felt like a real voice for the writers.
Yeah.
Everything that he sort of said and did was like the writers putting their stamp on it, and it felt very bad. It was awful.
I wasn't keen. And I quite liked him in season 1. I thought he was quite fun in season 1.
I mean, the thing was, I think he did quite a nice balance in the first one. He was annoying enough.
Yeah.
But sort of, just broken enough that he, with his friendship with Geralt, that he was it worked really well. You didn't get any of that. He was just an obnoxious twat.
Yeah.
This season,
Mm.
which and he can be an obnoxious twat from what we've seen, because he's a rollicker, isn't he? He's one of those.
Yeah.
He's a bard. He's a which you expect from you expect a certain amount of twattery and arrogance from a bard.
Absolutely, that's the character.
That's their thing,
Yeah.
But there's being a bit of a rogue, and then there's being an asshole.
Yeah.
And he was most definitely an asshole in this season.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll sort that season.
Yeah, hopefully.
But again, like we're saying, it wasn't a terrible season. It just wasn't a very good season.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it wasn't awful. I would recommend watching it if you like season 1. If you had a problem with the sequencing of season 1, the tense, then season 2 is probably more for you anyway, because it is much more linear. But yeah, overall, not terrible. Just a bit of a disappointment. Fell a bit flat for me. So hopefully they'll pick it up with season 3. And I'll certainly be watching season 3, so it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's not put me off, but another season like this will.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I want a strong season 3 now.
Mm-hmm.
So, what else have you watched?
So I saw Prisoners of the Ghostlands.
I'm very curious about this one. Been wanting to watch it, and the poster is awesome. I can't get all of it on screen, but it's really cool.
Yeah, the poster's really good. It's a great poster. So this is directed by Sion Sano, who's done. He's definitely one of those cult directors. He's a Japanese director. He did Suicide Club and Love Exposure, and he's got he certainly has an eye. He did Tokyo Vampire Hotel, which I actually really enjoyed. It's fucking batshit crazy, but if you've seen that, then you kind of know what you're going to get from this movie. So you're introduced to Nicolas Cage, who is called Hero, and he, at the beginning of the film, he is basically, him and his partner Psycho are robbing a bank, and you get the feeling that it went horribly, horribly wrong, and lots of people died. And then you sort of go to now, and Sophia Botella's character, who's Bernice, her and 2 other girls look like they're escaping from a brothel, perhaps. It's and they're sort of they're getting their freedom, but they end up trapped in the Ghostlands. Let's say that they end up there, and so you next see Nicolas Cage chained up in this cell of this town. Now this town is fucking weird. It's basically like a Japanese little village. With lots of people wearing masks and things, and a really big red light district where there's lots of sort of geisha types in windows. And it's run by Bill Moseley's character, who's just called the Governor.
Nice.
And Bernice, he says, is his granddaughter, and he knows that Hero is a badass who's done terrible things, and he wants him to go into the Ghostland and rescue his granddaughter. So he puts him in this suit, in this jumpsuit that has bombs all over it,
right? That
will like explode his testicles and blow him up if he doesn't find her within 3 days. He's got 3 days to find her, and if he finds her and she speaks into this thing he's got on his wrist, he will get another 2 days to bring her back.
Right.
So then he goes and. Okay, this movie has got fucking everything in it. It's like part Western, part Kabuki, part Greek fucking chorus stuff. It's got elements of post-apocalyptic. It's all just crammed in. There is so much fucking shit in this movie. And it's not an easy watch. It does not, get go easy on you. It doesn't tell you stuff. It doesn't make it easy for you. Half of the time you do not know what the fuck is going on in this movie.
Yeah.
Cage is on full turn up to 11 Cage.
Excellent.
Which is pretty good.
It suits the movie, that's fine.
It really suits the movie. It's beautifully shot. He's got, as I said, the director's got a really beautiful an eye for beauty, but there's so much going on. I mean, the town. It's like it's samurai stuff, but also cowboy stuff.
Yeah.
So you've got all these samurais walking around with swords and stuff, but you've also got a load of cowboys with guns and hats and all that stuff. And it's like, okay, what's going on here? But it's got this sort of, it has this sort of air of being like a Greek sort of like a Greek tragedy mixed with sort of because he's called Hero, and there's like a prophecy that he will save the Ghostlands and stuff. But it's also, the Ghostlands exist because there was a nuclear incident and there was, radiation poured into the land. So it's also like a comment on anti-nuclear.
Right.
It's honestly, there's so much going on. And as I said, it's not really, how can I put it? It doesn't sort of run smoothly, let's say. There are like lots of jumps back to sort of previous things where you find out how wrong this bank job went, and I'm not spoiling anything really. A kid was killed, and he's trying to redeem himself, and the governor's this it's Bill Moseley, so it's him being Bill Moseley, really. Bill Moseley turned up to 11 as well. Is this sort of like governor, and with all these girls he's got, and there's just like weird things where they sort of, like I said, they got like Greek choruses that sort of sing the plot, sort of thing. They tell you what's going on, and there's a bit where they sing "My Grandfather Clock." I haven't heard that song since I was a kid. That song?
Yeah.
That the whole village starts singing "My Grandfather Clock," and it's like, what is going on with this fucking movie? This is so fucking weird. And again, it's really beautiful. There are bits with like these trucks that are all full of lights and stuff, and there are these guys called the Rat Men who are like scavengers, and they're like running around scavenging cars and bits, and like they're putting lights together and stuff. And there's a guy who's sat in this room that they've got on. It's like a room on a cart that they're moving around, and the guy, he's like the sort of mayor of the Ghostland. He's sort of reading books to them and stuff. It feels like about like 10 people were in a room and they all had an idea. Yeah. And they just went, let's just put all those ideas together. Let's just see how that goes. So it's not a coherent movie. Let's put it that way. I'm trying to sort of. I can't say I enjoyed it. There were bits I liked about it. I mean, Cage being up to 11 is
always entertaining.
It's entertaining. Some of the fight scenes were there was one fight scene in the street with because there's another samurai character which is like a bodyguard for the governor who he's in, again, he feels like he's a sort of a hero type as well. He's Yasujiro, played by Tak Sakaguchi. He feels he's this sort of he's the type that he's only the governor because he's there because his sister is captured by the governor's controlling his sister, so he's his bodyguard because of that, but he doesn't want to be that, and there's it's just another sort of like idea that's there. It just feels like it's that could do with that bit, so we'll chuck that bit in there. And there's this fight scene between him and these other samurai guys that just felt like a scrum between a load of kids fighting. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it was like a load of kids playing samurai. It felt like that. It's like, and I don't know whether the thing is when you watch it, you're like, I think it's intentional. I don't think it's like bad. I think it's intentionally weird. You know, like I said, there's some beautiful sort of imagery in it. There's this guy who, when he finds these girls that just come into the Ghostlands, they kind of lose things. It never really goes into the explanation for it. It just says, oh, you know, she's lost. When he finds Beatrice, initially she's lost her voice because she's been in the Ghostlands, and it feels like she's sort of given up. You know, she's found herself here and she's sort of given up. It doesn't really explain it, but then so all these sort of girls that this guy finds, he puts them in like dolls. He makes them these sort of like from shattered pieces of dolls. He puts all these shattered pieces on them, and they become sort of dolls. But it never really goes into why or how, and then they just are. You know, it's just like, oh, they've just become that.
Yeah.
And Sophia Botella.
It's very Italian horror.
Sorry.
It's very Italian horror. Just they just are this, and that's that. That just happens. Again, not going to explain it.
It's exactly that. There's parts of it that feel like they're an Italian horror. But it all feels so jammed in that none of it is balanced at all. And poor Sophia Botella, she's like, I don't know. It feels like they didn't quite know what to do with her, and she's got these nice little bits, but they don't use her enough. I think they could have done those things. And she's a dancer. There is one or two bits where she's in fight scenes and she's doing bendy stuff because she can do it. But they could have used that better. I think they could have done some really nice stuff with her. But it feels like they just couldn't be bothered. I don't know. I know initially, the initial script was I think it was a spaghetti western,
right?
And it was going to be filmed in Mexico. The director had a heart attack.
Oh no!
So apparently Nicolas Cage said, "Well, why don't we move the production to Japan then, so that you can be at home and we can do it there." So I think two of the actors pulled out then, because I think originally Sophie Botella's character was going to be played by I think it was Imogen Poots.
Right.
So two of the people I think pulled out then, and they had to get new people to sort of go to Japan. And I think then it became less spaghetti western and more whatever this is.
Yeah, this amalgamation of a bit of everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to be charitable and say it's not terrible.
Yeah.
But it's not good either.
In true rental store fashion, the poster is much better than the movie. Yeah. It doesn't live up to the poster's promise.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is I kind of want people to see it because...
Oh, I'm going to see it. I want to see it.
Oh, yeah. I'd recommend you see it as long as you're prepared for the weirdness and and I like weird, but this was, I don't think, very well put together. It felt like it was too much. It felt uncontrolled.
Sure.
It felt like there was too much going on that never comes together properly. You know what I mean? And by the end, you're like, okay, well, that was a thing.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
and I'm trying to sort of. I can't recommend this to anybody. Let's say normal people, like your average.
Yeah. Okay.
Your average moviegoer. Okay. I cannot recommend this movie to your average moviegoer.
Right.
I think if you want to see something weird and interesting, I can recommend it to you.
Yes.
I can recommend weird and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I can't recommend it to anybody else.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think even Nicolas Cage, people that love Nicolas Cage, I think even they will struggle with this one.
Okay.
So, not a good movie, but an interesting one.
Sure.
It is definitely interesting.
Okay.
And beautifully put together. I mean, some of the shots and the scenes and the set that itself, this sort of weird little town, and then the ghost world, which is this sort of irradiated building where they're holding a clock back. It's yeah. I mean, there are so many sort of weird things in it that you're like, oh, that's so interesting. They're like little bits, like the ghost. The center of the Ghostland is this. It's like it's this old, blown up building with a clock on the front, right? And there are a bunch of guys all in a line on this rope, and they're holding back the time. They're pulling on the minute hand because they say if time starts again, the explosion will happen again. It will all blow up, and again, it's like, that's a really nice idea, but what the hell is the rest of this movie?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's so many little bits and pieces that are beautifully done and beautifully put together, but they all feel like they're in separate movies.
Yeah.
So I think I would recommend it to certain people just for the sheer bonkersness of it and the beautiful spectacle.
Yeah.
But as a linear movie, I cannot recommend it.
No. Okay. Well, I think I will probably watch it anyway because, like you, I like weird stuff.
I would recommend it to you because I think you would get something out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, I will give it a watch. So I don't know whether to do Cobra Kai or my last movie. Let's do Cobra Kai first. I don't know what to do with the last movie, whether to do spoilers or not. So I'll leave it up to you, but I'll leave it to the end anyway. So let's do Cobra Kai season 4. Oh, good lord. I fucking love this show. I really do. I just this was better than season 3 in my opinion.
Yes, I agree with that. I think,
and I liked season 3. Season 3 just had a few moments. This was damn near perfect. I loved every second of this, pretty much. I had a great time.
That far. There were some bits that for me I found annoying and dragged a little.
It didn't for me at all. Actually, I watched pretty much all of it in almost one sitting. I enjoyed it that much.
I watched it in 2. I think.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, the overall stuff and the majority of the main cast are still stunning. They're still brilliant.
I think one of the best things that the show continues to do with its primary cast, and admittedly there are members of Eagle Fang and members of Cobra Kai and members of Miyagi-Do that don't really have anything to say or do, they're just there. But the primary cast, they've all got story arcs and they're really good at developing these characters, all of them. Those core characters all go through journeys in every season, and that is really remarkable given how many characters we're dealing with. I think they do a fantastic job with that. Of course, this season has brought in Terry Silver from the Karate Kid 3.
Which I think is probably the one that I've seen least.
Yeah, it's the one I've seen least as well. Yeah,
I actually think I've seen the next Karate Kid more than that.
Oh no, actually, sorry, I have not seen the next Karate Kid more than I've seen 3. That one's the one I've seen least.
I think I've probably seen 2 the most because it was set in Japan.
Sure.
And it was like that stuff. So
yeah, obviously this show picks up from season 3. We now have Daniel and Johnny forming their alliance, their uneasy alliance. Yeah. And they're trying to come together to defeat Cobra Kai because Kreese basically made a deal with them that if they win, then he'll go away. But if they lose, then they have to give up teaching.
Yeah.
Daniel can no longer teach karate anymore. So the stakes are pretty high, and obviously it's heading into the competition that Daniel originally won. It's come back around again, and basically, yeah, we see the two of them trying to get along with this uneasy alliance, and trying to come together. And then, of course, Terry Silver is introduced and brought back into the show. So I really enjoyed this show. I'm guessing you've got more to say about it than me. I didn't really have much to complain about it personally.
Well, the only things that sort of I didn't enjoy was the stuff with the youngest son.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I liked the kid he was bullying, though. I thought that story was kind of interesting. Not so much the youngest son, but I like where his character's going. I'm curious to see.
Yeah, I just wasn't feeling it as much. I thought, it felt. I think it was one of those. It wasn't really badly done or anything. It felt like every time they were on the screen, for me, it was like I would rather have been watching somebody else.
That's fair enough. I feel like it's going somewhere, and I'm willing to see where it goes. That's I felt like it paid off by the end, and I'm curious what they do. So many characters that we're following that I would have rather. I actually think the other problem with this series is I think Johnny wasn't in enough again. I think there was. I know what they were doing. What they were doing with it, and he still outshines almost anybody else. He pretty much does, yeah.
Still brilliant, but I think they were sort of saying, "Oh, where is he? Why aren't they doing him?" And I felt like there was sometimes they were taking it away from him, and it was, that annoyed me slightly.
I agree, although I feel like season 5 is going to be very focused on Johnny. Certainly from the end of this season, I get the feeling.
I love the idea. I mean, it's been out for a while. Should we do?
Well, if you want to skip ahead like 2 or 3 minutes to avoid spoilers, then go ahead. We'll give you a fair warning.
Yeah.
So yeah, go for it.
I love the idea of him going to Mexico to look for Miguel. I think that's
absolutely agree. I thought that was wonderful.
I think that's a nice idea. I really like that because I was beginning to sort of. Towards the end of the tournament, I was beginning to despair that this was going to go like, is this going to sort of, or is this going to lessen Johnny's character? Are we going to sideline him here? Is this going to,
sure.
Are we less about him? And then it was like, oh no, thank fuck, they're going to actually do that. That's a nice idea. I like that, that scene where Miguel is picking up the pissed up Johnny.
Yes.
And
that's a wonderfully acted scene as well. That's really
wasn't
good.
It beautiful? It was heartbreaking.
It really was. It was fantastic.
You literally felt Miguel's heart break.
Yeah.
When he called him by his son's name, it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
No. That was beautiful. So well done. And again, those two characters, they're the ones I want to see. They're the heart and soul of this show for me. Some of the other. I mean, I feel slightly sorry for the Sam character because I'm not sure that the actress is good enough for that character.
I'm not sure. She's fine. I don't really have a particular problem with her personally. I think she's fine in the role. Not outstanding, but fine.
And sometimes I think.
I think she's outshone by Peyton List as Tori. By a long shot.
Where it's so much better.
Her story in this was fantastic. Actually, I really liked her story.
They've got the they show you that even the biggest pricks
have a heart and a reason.
Why they're pricks, even with fucking.
Oh, dude, that scene fucking they got me with that scene. I thought they were going real fucking dark. I thought she was a stripper, but they frame it like she's gonna be a stripper. I was like, oh my god, this is going so fucking dark. And then she ends up doing the fucking kids thing. I was so funny. I was hilarious.
That was funny. That was brilliant. Because like you, he's like, oh my god.
I was like, God, they've like had her sink, like she's like, oh Jesus, and the guy was real sleazy with her and horrible, And I was like, oh
Yeah.
no, this is awful. And then it was just, that was a really good payoff to that. That was really funny.
And again,
but her character arc through this was fantastic. I thought
her
it
was fantastic.
really good.
And Kreese, you know, we saw that what Kreese's weakness is.
Yes.
Kreese's weakness is Johnny.
Yeah.
It's like, what a brilliant idea. You know, how, I mean, he's still a fucking asshole. He's still horrible.
Yeah.
But at least it slightly humanizes him, you know?
It gives, he's not just a mustache twirling supervillain. Yeah.
Yeah.
He has a reason. I also really loved I mean, Terry Silver was kind of involved in the Vietnam stuff anyway. But I did like they really showed him as quite damaged early on in the show. With all of that
messed
stuff.
Up.
Yeah, he's a messed up dude.
There's a reason why he's a fucking evil bastard, just because he's messed up.
Yeah, yeah.
And you do think that maybe he probably would have been better off if Kreese hadn't seen him.
Yeah.
But then again, maybe, you know, that's not him either. So maybe he did sort of save him. I don't know. It depends on whether you think he was happy where he was, because I don't really think he was.
Yeah.
I think he was holding it all in, wasn't he? So it's you know, it depends on your perspective, but I think he wasn't happy where he was. But then who he really is a lunatic. So
yeah. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this.
A fucking amazing series.
I feel like they have to end it with the next season, though. Like this, it feels like it's very much coming to an end, and I don't want them to outlive their welcome with this.
The problem is this is like the most watched Netflix thing.
Well, the funny thing is, I remember watching this on goddamn YouTube when no one gave a shit. And it's so cool that a series is gone, because I remember seeing that show and just being like, Cobra Kai's amazing, like it's really good, and it's so great that the show's actually managed to continue.
Wasn't it? People started saying, no, you have to watch it. Like nobody ever thought, oh fucking, who the hell wants to watch a series about the villain from fucking Karate Kid? What the hell's, how good is that going to be?
Very.
But word of mouth, like, no, honestly, it's really good. Watch it. And it's like, yes, watch it.
Oh, by the way, as well, this season, I mean, they've been pretty good in previous seasons, but this season, they upped it even further with the soundtrack. The soundtrack is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, every song is an absolute banger in this show. Like, every single song is like, yes. It's so good.
When
I love that Daniel's listening to like
Chicago and stuff.
But he says so much about Johnny's character and Daniel's character. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And the Miguel, the kind of rivalry that Johnny builds up over Miguel, and the jealousy and stuff. That's all fantastic. I love all that stuff.
Yeah, brilliant. And one of my favorite bits was it totally brought out the old man in me. When Johnny's doing his run, and he's got I can't remember what the bloody tune is now. He's got the tune on, and he's going on, and that guy on the scooter goes past him.
Yeah, and he just smashes
him up and smashes his. And it's like, yes, I want to do that to every one of those knobheads that is on those stupid fucking scooters. Like, you're a grown man, get off the fucking scooter, you dickhead. I want to do that all the time, and that totally brought the old man out in me. I loved it. It was great. That sequence is fucking brilliant. It's just a really. I'm so glad that they've been able to sustain even through the lows. Like the last season had some real lows, but it was still overall a great thing.
The characters are so compelling. That's the thing.
Yeah, they've all got really good story arcs. They're all, brilliant characters.
Yeah.
Some of the minor ones, I feel they either don't, they kind of feel like they're in the background for a reason, and sometimes you feel just let's not do anything with them at all. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like some of the background stuff is like they brought Stingray back.
Yeah.
And what they do to him was wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when they first brought him back, I thought, oh god, not this guy again. I thought, oh, do we need to see this guy? And then they do what they did with him. They how Silver used him. It's like, fuck.
Yeah.
That I mean, how fucking desperate is that bloke for like love and attention that he's willing to nearly die?
Yeah, well, I'm hoping I never thought I'd be saying this, but after this season, I really hope we see more of him in season 5, and we see his arc complete, because he's hit like an all-time low right now. This show, I cannot wait for season 5. Can't wait. And like you, I think the ending with him going off to find Miguel, perfect.
Yeah, and of course, what's his name? The Japanese guy turning up at the end was like, oh, nice, cool. You know, I love that, and you know, the actual tournament itself was really
Chosen. Is it Chosen? Is that his name?
Chosen, yeah. I think that's
from
right.
part 2, isn't he? It's from Karate Kid 2, yeah.
Yeah, that was really good. I love that the tournament stuff was really good. You know, for the majority, the fight scenes were well done. Yeah, I mean, you can see the guys who are real martial artists and who aren't.
For sure. Yeah.
But it's such a great show. It
really is. It really is.
You know, they've pretty much managed to keep it great for 4 seasons, and that's, in this day and age, that's a fucking rare.
It's
thing.
Rare. It is, and I hope that they just don't over-egg it. And I hope that they end as well as they've.
I think the thing is that Netflix wants the views, so I think that they're going to want to keep this going.
It just feels like after it feels like season 5 really at this point primarily exists to kind of tie up the loose ends and bring a satisfying conclusion. I don't see how much longer you can really stretch it out, but we'll see. I mean, they've done a great job so far, so maybe I'm speaking too soon. Maybe we'll be here this time next year and I'll be saying, oh my god, I can't wait for season 6. So, you know, who knows?
Yeah, well, I think that's, you know, they've clearly got, I think they've got an overall plan.
I'm sure.
I think there's enough of, we've seen enough that makes me think, yeah, they have an overall story that they want to get to, which, you know, depending on how much they can stretch that out, I don't know. But at the moment, nothing feels like they're coasting or anything. It feels like it's all relevant. You know, it's all still going for a cohesive story. And I, you know, like you, I think maybe more seasons at the most.
At most, I'd agree with that.
Beyond that, I think they're in danger of it all collapsing.
Yeah,
but I think one more season, I'd be happy for it to end if they do it right.
Yeah.
Push. And I don't care what anybody says. I'm still waiting for. I want Hilary Swank to turn up. I want Julie to come in.
I would at this point. I would be very surprised if she didn't, because she's like the only one they haven't brought back at this point. So yeah. I'd happily see that. I would happily see that.
I'd really like to see. I'd really like to see what whether, you know, because I've always presumed that she's never met Daniel.
Yeah, we assume so, don't we? But I guess we don't know that.
I want to know how different they are, and how their relationship with Mr. Miyagi was different from each other. You know,
it would be interesting to explore that.
I think that's. I'm hoping
that would give us enough room for another season for sure, if they wanted to do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very excited for season 5. I think what a wonderful show. If you haven't watched it yet, honestly, it's worth a month's Netflix subscription just to blast through that.
Yeah, it really is, and it's as you know, as lots of people have pointed out, it's nostalgia done right. It's, you know,
it really is.
It's how you make a sequel. It genuinely is done with love of the original. It's done with real reverence for those characters. Yeah. You know, you can't ask for more than that.
No, I don't think you can. I think they've done a tremendous job so far.
Yeah, it's a brilliant series. Love it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of nostalgia, so final movie. as Matt knows, I was given a copy of Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City.
Ah, yes.
And Matt,
oh man, when
Matt
you sent me
messaged
that
me
message,
and he was like, "Can we do this on Monday?" And I was like, "Yeah, actually, because I'm like I've started watching this fucking movie and I can't stand it, so I'll just put it off until Monday when I can till Monday. I'll have a couple of beers or something on Sunday, you know." But then
you sent me that message. I was pissing myself. That was hilarious.
but then I got a better offer, so I still haven't watched it, and I'll watch it next time. I'll watch it eventually, guys. I promise. But I was given a copy of Ghostbusters Afterlife from a friend, so I decided that would be a better movie to watch than Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I really did want to go to the cinema to see it, but I didn't.
So did I. I never got round to it, and a friend came round on the weekend, and they're like, "Oh, hey, I've got a copy of Ghostbusters Afterlife. If you want to watch it," I was like, "Let's watch it. Let's do that." So I'll try not to do. I'll try not to do spoilers here, and I'll try and keep it.
To be honest, I think it's been out. I think it's been out.
No, I don't want to spoil it for you, though.
Yeah, but I think enough people have talked about it, and I've heard enough that I don't think spoilers are going to be a problem, really.
All right. Well, I did purposely leave it to the end of the show just in case. So I'll start non-spoilery, and then I'll warn when I'm going to do spoilers, and people can stop listening if they want at that point. So effectively, this movie it opens, 32 years after Vigo and all that stuff. Although they didn't really ever say whether Vigo was really a thing. In this, it kind of feels much more. It's a sequel to the first Ghostbusters more than anything. But effectively, Egon has relocated to Somerville in Oklahoma, and in the opening, we see Egon escaping with a trap. He's got something trapped, and he's luring it back to his house, where he tries to stop something, but he fails. The device that he's created fails, and then he ends up dying. He dies of a heart attack. I don't think that's a spoiler. We all know that he's
Do you actually see him then? I mean, have they got?
We'll get to that. Okay. So at the start of the movie, we just he's basically you see him in shadow. You don't see him. He's kind of in shadow constantly. He's off angle or whatever. But basically, that he's the father. That he is who he is because we then see this family. Who are basically it's his daughter. So it's Egon's daughter and her family are absolutely broke. They can't pay the rent where they live, and they're basically informed that they've inherited the farmhouse, Egon's old farmhouse in Oklahoma. So with nothing left to lose, they head out to this farm. It's like an absolute shithole farm. He was known locally as the dirt farmer because he had a farm, but he never actually produced anything. He never had any produce from the farm. He just he was just known as this crazy old guy up on a farm. And so Callie, who's Egon's daughter, is just trying to kind of make do with her two kids, Trevor and Phoebe. She's a bit of a bitch, but not unreasonably so, and we see why as the movie goes on. But effectively, whilst there, the kids uncover the past about Egon and the Ghostbusters, and we're introduced to Paul Rudd's character, who's a seismologist. I think seismologist, is that the right word? Studies earthquakes. That's right, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Just checking. I said it because it made sense when I said it, and then afterwards I was like, "Is that a real thing?" So yeah, he studies earthquakes, but he's kind of also working as a teacher on the side. And basically, he's like the biggest Ghostbusters fan. He was a huge fan of them back in the 80s, and like he loves all the Ghostbusters stuff. So he's kind of their he's the one that explains to them who the Ghostbusters were, and he shows them the YouTube videos.
He's basically playing us.
Yes, he is absolutely playing us. Yes, so without spoilers, quickly, I really enjoyed this movie. I think it does, again, nostalgia for the most part very well. I think it's a real love letter to the Ghostbusters and to the original characters. It's a really nice passing of the torch. It feels like a passing of the torch done right. But I will say that it does unfortunately descend into a rehash of the first movie in the last 20 minutes, effectively, which is a little disappointing. And there are some moments in it that kind of write themselves into holes that I don't think they needed to write themselves into. But overall, this is a really fun movie. I would put it up there with Ghostbusters 2. It's still not going to be a patch on Ghostbusters, but it feels
I mean,
like,
to be fair, if anybody was expecting Ghostbusters 1, then
you're out of your mind. That was lightning in a bottle and will never be reproduced. Yeah.
No.
It's a nice love letter, and it feels like, and we'll get into that now as we go into spoilers, it feels like a true sequel to the first movie. It feels like a better sequel to the first movie almost than 2 for me. So, spoilers. If you're happy to go into spoilers, Matt, I don't want to.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So if you don't want spoilers, you can stop.
I think everything's been spoiled for me already. Anyway,
I would imagine so. But effectively, Egon escaped to Oklahoma. He basically took all of the Ghostbusters gear, the Ecto-1 and everything, and he buggered off, leaving them all, leaving the rest of the Ghostbusters quite bitter and angry. They all hate Egon, especially Dan Aykroyd. They hate him because he stole all the stuff and disappeared, and he kind of ruined the Ghostbusters. But it turns out that Somerville was a mining community, and the mining operations were set up, and most of the town was built by Ivo Shandor, who obviously in the original movie made the tower as a conduit to bring forth Gozer. So basically it turns out that Egon went there and has been talking about the end of the world. But no one really listened to him. Even the other Ghostbusters weren't taking him seriously when he was saying all of this. So he's lived this reclusive life on this farm, dedicating his life to stopping Gozer's return. And he set up traps and stuff in the mining area where Gozer kind of comes through. So basically, there's like they've got the why have I forgotten the name of them? Oh my goodness, this is terrible. Anyway, he set up a load of the Ghostbuster proton packs. Oh, God, Lord, got there in the end. He set up a load of proton packs over the cavern. So as soon as whenever the ghosts come up, they all activate and they all shoot it back down. So it's kind of keeping them down, and that's what's causing the earthquakes. Is basically his setup trying to stop it. And basically, so Phoebe, who is wonderful in this movie, the actress who plays Phoebe is fantastic.
McKenna Grace. I mean, she's been in so good. She's so good in this. She was amazing in Hill House. Yes, she was so good in Hill House. She was brilliant in there's a bunch of things I've seen her in. She's amazing. Yeah, but she honestly is the star of this show, and she outshines everyone. I thought she was really good. She's very much like Egon. She doesn't really understand humor. She's really, really fantastic. But she obviously discovers they kind of explore the farmhouse and they find the Ecto-1, and she discovers all of the ghost busting equipment and whatnot. And effectively, it's kind of a little bit their fault because she finds the trap, and the trap had one of the terror dogs in it, effectively. Right. Which is what Egon had caught in the opening. It's like a demonic version of a terror dog, and they accidentally, with Paul Rudd, because Paul Rudd's like, oh my God, this is real. It's the spirit. Yeah, it's the spirit. So they let it out, effectively, because Paul Rudd's like, is this real? And they're trying to prove whether it's real or not, and they set it off, and it releases this terror dog. But yeah, so effectively, ghosts start appearing in town because of where it is and all of that. And obviously we get some early ghost busting, antics that land them in prison, or not in prison, sorry, obviously they're too young for prison, but it lands them, in the cells very briefly until their parents turn up.
And yeah, so it's a fun movie and a really fun opening, but then it kind of turns into Ghostbusters 1 in the last 20 minutes, where the we get the gatekeeper and the keymaster. In this case it's Paul Rudd's character and Callie. So they end up being the gatekeeper and the keymaster and all of that stuff. The original Ghostbusters show up in the end. It's a fun moment. It's cool, but it doesn't make any real sense when you think about it. Well, they turn up in full gear. All of the gear that apparently was stolen, they've just got when they turn up, and they're all in uniform, and all the uniforms were in the farmhouse, and it's a bit weird. But it's like, okay, fine. It was a feel-good moment. But again, it's weird things like that where I'm like, you just didn't need to say that the gear was stolen, and it would have been fine. But you made a point of him being, like Dan Aykroyd, Ray is real bitter because, everything's been stolen. Yeah, in the end, they've all got their stuff, but fine. Yeah, it's a feel-good moment. They have a showdown with Gozer again. Who have they cast as Gozer? Olivia Wilde is Gozer.
Yeah.
She looks perfect. She looks exactly like Gozer did. It looks great. It is really, really good. She really does look exactly like the original Gozer. Basically, so what Egon was trying to do at the start was that he turned the whole farm into a big trap. There's basically the dirt that he's farmed, his dirt farming. What he's actually done is he's buried traps under the farm, like 1 million traps, just like traps everywhere. And he tried activating it at the start, but the power, failed. So in the end, the idea is that they try and trap Gozer. The original Ghostbusters turn up and they all, fight Gozer. We get some really fun callbacks and stuff. And then basically, the idea is that they set the traps and they'll go for it. And I guess the biggest spoiler, if we're going full spoilers, is yes, you do see Egon. He is in the movie. He is in the movie as a ghost. We get a moment where Phoebe is she's the original Ghostbusters kind of get downed and they're trying to fight Gozer, and then Phoebe gets a shot in with the proton pack, and we get a really lovely shot. It is a lovely moment where she's trying and she's struggling to control the proton pack, and then you just see a ghostly hand basically help her, and we basically see that the Egon spirit is holding the proton pack with her and helping her aim, and then we get the original Ghostbusters plus the ghost of Egon all shooting at Gozer long enough for Trevor, played by what's his name, Finn Wolfhard. He realizes and he shoots the thing, and the power's there and the ghost traps are set off and stuff. And then we get a wonderful moment with Egon's ghost afterwards, even though it makes no real sense because the whole farm was a trap, and I don't really get why he hung around when all the other ghosts went away. But it's such a lovely moment. It's such a nice moment that it's like, I don't care. Because we get this real wonderful story with Callie, where she hates her father. He ran away and left her, and she thinks he was a piece of shit. And she realizes through the movie, and Egon is really, in terms of the original cast, Egon is the star of the movie. He is in the movie more than any other of the original Ghostbusters. He's in it as a ghost at first, an unseen ghost. Like, he'll move things to kind of point them in the right direction, point Phoebe in the right direction, point Callie in the right direction. And she discovers that he's followed her whole life. He was just in seclusion to try and stop the end of the world. And we get this wonderful reunion at the end. It's a really heartwarming movie, and I think it does, despite my misgivings about it kind of descending into a rehashing of the original, which is really the main issue I have with the movie, to be honest, is that, and it's only like probably the last 15-20 minutes that do it, and it's still not bad. It's just like, okay, we're just gonna, because one of my favorite things about this movie is that it was doing its own thing. It's like it's on a farm. It's not set in New York. It would have been so easy to just rehash the original Ghostbusters, and they didn't until the last bit. And I was a bit disappointed that it did. But it's still done very well. It's still done very, very well. And it's a very touching tribute to Egon and to Harold Ramis. And I will say, this is the first time. Good. This is the first time in all the times they've done it. This is the absolute first time where I have seen a CGI version of a dead actor or actress that didn't feel like a horrible cash grab. and it didn't feel dirty, because that's how all of them have felt, from Peter Cushing to Carrie Fisher, all of them.
Yeah.
It just makes me feel a bit gross. This felt like it was done out of love, and it's a real touching tribute to Harold Ramis. It's a real touching tribute to Egon's character. It's really nice. It's really nice. I had a real good time with this movie. And I can't recommend it enough, honestly. Despite its moments that bugged me. And I guess we could probably get into that a little more once you've watched it. It's a really fun movie. Weirdly, like, there are some kind of, like, some of the side characters are a little annoying. There's a kid called Podcast who does a podcast. That's why he's called Podcast. Right. He's a little annoying in places. Although I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh, when I was a kid, if podcasts were around, you probably would call your friend Podcast if you did podcast. You know what I mean? It's kind of the kind of thing you did with your kids. So I'm like, okay, maybe. He was a little flat.
Town.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very small town and stuff. Some of the love story kind of falls a bit flat, if I'm honest. The love story between Paul Rudd and Carrie's character kind of Callie and I forget the name of Paul Rudd's character, Callie and Gary Gruberson. That love story's okay. That kind of works. They've got some chemistry, but the Trevor love story is kind of it's like an afterthought, and it doesn't really work for me at all. It might as well have not been in it.
Right.
But overall, I thought it was great. There were just some moments that for me, it just felt the ending was a bit of a rehash. I was a little disappointed by that. But overall, a really, really good movie. Really, this is how you hand over a franchise to new people. And obviously leaves it wide open for the other Ghostbusters to still be around in future movies. But it does feel like, if you want to do more, you could definitely do more, and they're clearly planning on it based on,
I think this one's done so fucking well that it's definitely going to get a sequel.
Yeah, well, we've got this great situation now where basically it turns out that Winston got into finance after the Ghostbusters. He's actually like a multi-millionaire now. He's worth loads of money.
Brilliant.
So effectively, it's really nice actually, because you see that Ray he's working at Ray's a cult, and at the end of the movie, it turns out that Winston's talking to Annie, and he basically says to her, like, Ray's a cult hasn't turned over a profit since it opened. He's like, it'll turn over a profit one day. And it turns out that Winston's basically just been paying with his money to keep Razor Cult going. And it's quite clear that he's going to basically finance the Ghostbusters going forward. He's, because he sees the Ecto-1 and he's like, oh, what have they done to you? And at the end of the movie, it's clear he's going to restore it. He's got the firehouse. He's still, he basically paid for it all, and he's going to continue. So I'm assuming that's the future of the franchise, is that you'll have, I guess, Ray and Winston. You probably won't see Venkman ever again, let's be honest. But it was great to see him here, but I don't think you're going to see him again.
I don't think it would take much persuasion to get
Aykroyd will be there for sure.
And Hudson back. I think those two are a shoo-in.
Oh, for sure.
Good luck getting Murray to come back.
But I don't think you need to necessarily.
And to be honest, you don't really need him to come back.
It should. The next film really should be the new character's story. Really.
Yeah.
Especially if they leave it long enough, because I guess Phoebe's like 12 in the movie, so if they leave it, a few years, they can make out that she's 16 or whatever, and then you're like, yeah, okay, I can believe that they could start doing these kind of things. And obviously you've still got Gary, who's old enough to certainly, if he wanted to, become a Ghostbuster, because Paul Rudd's definitely old enough. So yeah, it was really fun, and I'm kind of in a position now where I'm like, if they want to make more, that would be kind of fun.
I mean, I guess the main question is it better than the 2016 Ghostbusters?
Well, it's a very low bar, Matt, but yes. It's an extremely low bar, but yes, it is.
Honestly, I didn't think it wouldn't be for a minute. So
yeah, I didn't think I would be quite a. You'd have to really try to make it worse than
feat, wouldn't it?
than that. Yeah. Interestingly, they didn't put Slimer in the movie. I was really surprised by that.
No, I did hear that. They've got a thing that's a
Muncher.
bit like,
Yeah, they got Muncher, who's kind of a cool little ghost. But I was really surprised, with all of the member berries in this movie. I'm surprised they didn't.
Yeah,
it almost feels like they had a bit of restraint there, actually, for that one thing.
Yeah, okay. The real Ghostbusters kind of became all a fucking about him, didn't it?
Oh yeah, he was their pet. He was like their best buddy.
Yeah. I mean, it became Slimer and the real Ghostbusters eventually, didn't it? Which was
I don't remember that. I must have stopped watching.
Yeah, no, they towards the end they changed it so it was more. They had little sort of stories with just Slimer and stuff. It was terrible.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that. I always remember the real Ghostbusters. I remember being fantastic when it was on. When it started.
Oh, the real Ghostbusters is fucking amazing.
Really good show.
I mean, I haven't seen it for years, so it might not hold up quite as well as I remember.
I watched some on YouTube not so long ago, and I quite enjoyed it. It was all right.
Genuine scary stories in those. There's some really nice ghost stuff in those stories.
The soundtrack is very on point in this as well. I mean, it uses all of the old music. I don't know how much original music there is in this, but there can't be much because it feels like it's all just the original score. It's great.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah, I mean it really does feel like a proper sequel to Ghostbusters, and that's the best. That's the best thing I can say about it, really.
Yeah, I don't think you can ask for much more than that.
No, and it does feel like you finally got to see all four of them again. Hey, we never got to see Hanley and Luke together, but we got to see the original Ghostbusters together one last time, so that's cool.
Yeah, if nothing else, that's good.
Yeah, no, it's good, and yeah, honestly, I think you'll enjoy it. It's not a perfect movie, but it is a good sequel, I think, and it's certainly up there with Ghostbusters 2 for me. Which is another movie that I think is okay. It's not as good as the first, but it's okay.
Again, I've been meaning to rewatch it recently, and I haven't got around to it yet. But it's I've got mixed feelings about 2.
It's not aged anywhere near as well as the first one.
No.
I love Vigo though, I love Vigo and that whole idea, Vigo the Carpathian and stuff. That's really awesome. It's got some nice ideas, Ghostbusters 2. It just doesn't quite stick the landing.
The problem with 2 is that the studio clearly wanted a different movie and from the ones that the actual stars wanted to make.
Absolutely.
So,
But yeah, Ghostbusters Afterlife, I definitely gets a thumbs up from me. I think this is how you soft reboot a franchise if you want to do that. This was really a great way of doing that, paying respects to the original whilst creating something new, and I'd happily watch more.
Yeah, I can't
wait to
watch it.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
But yeah, so yes, that was that. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we head off into the sunset?
I guess we should mention a couple of deaths.
Yes,
Betty White being.
Yeah, I know.
Loved Betty White. I mean, not like she didn't have a great life, so
No, she was like almost 100, right?
She was 99. Yeah, she was not only a couple of months off of being 100, I believe. What a wonderful actress!
Oh, tremendous!
And working right up until the end.
Yeah.
Again, fantastic. Actually, I mean, I loved the Golden Girls, and Rose was probably my favourite character. Well, I mean, it's a toss up between Rose and oh Christ, now I'm going to forget their names. The oldest lady, the mum, Sophia.
Yeah.
Betty White was an amazing actress, and she'd done so much wonderful stuff. So we got that. We've got Peter Bogdanovich.
Yes.
Amazing director. What's Up, Dark Paper Moon. Last Picture Show, which is an amazing movie that I don't think gets talked enough about. Wonderful director.
Yeah, absolutely.
And finally, Sidney Poitier.
Yeah, Sidney Poitier. I mean, Jesus.
Again, not exactly a young man, thankfully. 94.
So good life.
Really, and he, I mean, what amazing movies he did.
Yeah,
you know?
he is like, yeah.
Lilies of the Field, Defiant Ones, To Sir With Love. I love To Sir With Love. Heat of the Night. I saw Heat of the Night recently. That movie still fucking holds up as amazing. It's brilliant. And also, funnily enough, I watched recently Sneakers.
Oh, yeah?
I love it. Sneakers is one of those movies that it's not a great movie, but I really love it.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's a weirdly fun movie, and you know, Potty is not a big role in it, but he's great in it. Wonderful, fantastic actor. So yeah, it's three main, the three big deaths.
Yes, yes. But yeah, on that happy note.
Yeah, on that note, I mean, we could just briefly say about the. Have you seen the Uncharted trailer?
Have I? Maybe. I saw one trailer of it. I'm sure it looked pretty awful.
Yeah,
it's
so miscast.
I don't. Yeah, the thing is, I'm not interested in seeing a young version of the character. That's the biggest problem.
My only thinking is, we can have a massive franchise if we use a younger guy.
Sure.
It's like, but nobody wants to see young Nathan Drake. They want to see Nathan Drake.
The problem is that it's not,
and that's not against Tom Holland. I think Tom Holland's he's a good kid, but he's not Nathan Drake.
No.
Maybe in 10 years' time he might be Nathan Drake.
That's kind of my problem. Is that he won't, because how old is Tom Holland now? He's not a kid anymore. He just looks like a kid, he's never gonna. He's that age now where, like, how old is he? Let's look him up. He's 25. He's not gonna.
Wow. Okay, he's older than I thought then. So yeah,
that's the thing. It's like he's not gonna become any.
He's gonna
look like that. Yeah, he's not gonna grow into that role. He's just gonna look like older Tom Holland. Fine, but do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So
no, you're right. Yeah.
So we'll see.
And Mark Wahlberg is a terrible choice for Sully as well.
I like Mark Wahlberg in the right role. He does not fit Sully at all.
No,
not at all. They just needed it. I guess they just wanted a big name, and they were just like, yeah, that'll do. But doesn't work for me, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it really does feel like, he'll do.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like they put a lot of thought into it at all.
No.
Which is terrible.
It is, yeah.
I mean, have you ever seen that short movie that Nathan Fillion did?
Yeah, that was great. It's
great.
He's the perfect casting. Unfortunately, they waited too long.
I think
he's
too old now, isn't he? He looks a bit too old. But they should have done this movie like 10 years ago with him.
Yeah, or they should have done it with Nathan Fillion sort of telling the story and it flashing back to a younger version. That would have been kind of fun. So we got a bit of both. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could be fun. I enjoy Uncharted. I enjoy Indiana Jones. I enjoy Tomb Raider. I enjoy all of that kind of stuff. That globe-trotting archaeology, action adventure. Yeah. So I'm all for it. The trailer hasn't won me over, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'll even.
If anything, it's confirmed my fears. Let's put it that way.
I think that's the problem. Is I just don't think I want the disappointment. I just don't. It's like, I think I can just leave that on a shelf. Yeah, and I'm getting the same feeling with the Batman as well.
Yeah, I'll watch it. I'm not sure I'm going to bother going to the cinema, but when it ends up on Netflix or wherever, I'll probably watch it. I
think with that one, my initial buzz for that was really good. I was looking forward to seeing him as Batman. They were all the director.
I think the cast is great. I had no problem with the cast.
No, but each successive trailer has just made me think that's further and further away from what you told us we were getting.
It kind of is, isn't it? Yeah, it's interesting that they have kind of diverged from.
I don't know whether. I mean, maybe I could be wrong, and maybe the actual movie will turn out to be good. But so far, it just looks like a bad Nolan knockoff.
Yeah, I agree.
And I mean, I really dislike the way they dropped a couple of pictures of what the Riddler looks like in this, and it's like, whoa, wow, okay,
yeah.
What is that? What have you done there then? That's interesting, or not? it's not looking. I don't think it's looking good at all. It's. Ugh.
Yeah, we'll
aggressive.
we'll wait and see on that one, I guess. But I agree, it's not looking terribly promising.
No. But that's kind of it.
Yeah, I think so. What are we doing next week, Matt?
We are doing Young Guns.
Oh yeah, we are doing Young Guns. I'd forgotten what we were doing. Yes, Young Guns.
Yeah, we are doing Young Guns.
I'm very excited about that. That was a good call on your part when you suggested that the other day. I was like, oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I thought we haven't done a Western for a bit. I think.
No, it's been a while, hasn't it, since we've done a Western?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely up for Young Guns. That sounds fun to me. But cool. Yes, so thank you for listening, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.